Welcome to the Coffee with Karen podcast, a weekly chat show discussing everything from holistic health to current affairs from a mental, physical, and spiritual perspective. Get your weekly cup of positivity with a sprinkling of woo-woo.
So, welcome to the show. Today is Tuesday, and this is going out on Mintwave Radio. You can just ask Alexa or go to the website /mintwave-radio. If you miss it live, then you can get it on the podcast. You can download the app for Apple and Android. Please subscribe to any of the other podcasts that are out on their network. There's 23 to choose from. Feel free to follow or leave a comment. So today's episode is 142. And today we have Marcy McDonald, who is a mindset expert and end-of-life doula. And we're going to be talking about why paying attention to death is the most important thing for resetting your mindset to truly live. So I'm your host, Karen Roberts. We are just providing a platform for coaches to get their message heard to those who need to hear it. Now, Marcy is a mindset coach. She is the daughter of a genius father and a schizophrenic but loving mother. So she began life with an unusual gene pool, she says, that shows in her professional and personal experience. She's worked at a six-figure corporate job and she's hauled pounds of avocados on her back. Oh, she's going to have to explain that one. She's dined in five-star restaurants in Paris and she's lived on beans and rice. She's lived in a house worth more than $500,000 and she's lived out of her car. She's had ups and downs and everything in between on life's journey. She believes that if she was able to learn how to be emotionally healthy, be intentional about her purpose and be happy every day, then anyone can. She's a participant in season 2 of the reality TV show 4 Days to Save the World. Marcy is also an international best-selling author and an internationally certified end-of-life doula. Her newest book, Unstuck Yourself, Daily Practices with the Right Tools Will Change Your Life. This is going to be released this spring. So she's combining neurologically, I can't even say that, based exercises with the urgency that comes from looking closely at your own death in a practical and powerful program that enables people to live powerfully and purposefully. So welcome to the show, Marcy. Now, you have had an incredible journey. Where do you want to start? There's a few things to go through there.
We could start anywhere, but I would like to start with a story about my morning because it sums up where I'm at now, where everybody could be, but typically isn't, and why we need to be aware of what's going on in our head, as well as that each day could be the last one we have. So this morning, I like to let my son and his wife sleep in while I take care of the grandkids, right? So I knew I had the podcast. I'm getting them hustled, making breakfast, their choice, because it's Saturday morning and grandma's cooking. So I've got oatmeal cooking, I've got pancakes cooking, and suddenly one of the kids says, "Grandma, one of the dogs just pooped on the floor." And sure enough, I turn around and there's this steaming mess of dog poop. And as I rush to clean it up before the little one steps in it, the oatmeal boils over, pouring milk all over the pancake pan. And when I try to decide which do I do first, I turn around, grab the pans, knock over one of my favorite sets of ceramics onto the floor. It smashes. The kids are crying. Baby's got snot all over his face. And okay, who hasn't had a morning like this where everything just goes wrong? That's a familiar experience. Hopefully not the dog poo on the floor, but stuff happens, right? So in those circumstances, you can either wig out, you can bring on your Zen calm, or you could get just really grouchy about it. And you could decide, my whole day is ruined. And I remember when I was in the corporate world, maybe I'd spilled coffee in my blouse on the way into a meeting in the boardroom or something, and my whole day was ruined. But this morning, I was able to just say, this is just what's happening. This happened. It's not about me. It is about still my morning. And if this were my last morning, would I want to spend it yelling at the kids, yelling at the dog, and then ruining the rest of my day because, oh, everything went wrong? No, I don't choose that. I choose to respond to every single day, everything that happens, as if this is just what is. You have to love what is, because this might be the only chance you get to do that, whatever it is.
Love that. Acceptance. The acceptance of the isness of what is.
It's true. It can be, I mean, it was not a smooth morning, but we didn't ruin anything by it. I just proceeded to clean this up, take the dogs out, feed the kids, go get made up for this. Only I discovered I couldn't find my makeup because I just moved. So I was like, okay, let's hope it's not a close up, and you just laugh about it.
But this is the thing. I love what you said there about you choose. So you intentionally chose to be like that. Isn't it interesting that we, again, and possibly not always the case, but if you are in more of a corporate job and that kind of mentality and that kind of rat race and so much stress, that it does appear that people can have that sort of response to life in that way because everything seems so important. Whereas when you can take a step back and okay, it's done. It's too late. You can't do anything about it. You can't correct it. And that acceptance is the step one. Then you can choose to let it go. But just, it is what it is. Some people, it's so funny. Some people really, I've got friends of mine who go, I hate that saying. It is what it is. I love it. It is what it is, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what I said to the kids. It is what it is. And you have to love what is, because life is full of dog poo, is full of beautiful, glorious mornings. It's full of love. It's full of kisses. It's full of stubbing your toe. So you just have to love all of it, because all of it is the experience we're getting because we are still alive here to greet it and experience it and choose how we want to respond to it. Life is much, much better once you stop reacting to things, or you notice that you're reacting, and then you choose how you want to respond.
But isn't that the thing? That a lot of us, until we are aware of this kind of stuff that we're going to be talking about, is the fact that in general, the way we have been taught, the way we have been conditioned throughout life is that we are steamrolling ahead and purely reacting to what's coming, rather than realizing that actually it can, whatever's coming at us can actually stop here if we accept it and then choose to not let it. But it's do you think it's how we've been brought up and how we've been conditioned?
Oh, it's absolutely. And that's why I like to have people hear a bit about my journey, just some of the highlight reel, to understand that when you look at someone who seems to have it all together, like me, I've got it all together, but I didn't get here overnight. I got here through a series of cascading events and choices and awarenesses that I cultivated deliberately. That's part of why my new book is called Unstuck Yourself. Daily practice is what makes the change. It's not having a wonderful retreat or reading the perfect self-help book, even mine. It's about every day learning to notice what you're saying to yourself, because what you're saying to yourself is a habit that has been set up from the time we're children. And it becomes such a habit that it's like scratching your head and not realizing you're scratching it. It's that much of a pattern. We don't hear what we're saying to ourselves. And then we're not taught, as you mentioned, to be aware of what we're saying to ourselves, or to be aware that what we're saying to ourselves might not be true. And in fact, in many cases, it's not true. So you have to learn that. I have to wipe my nose, excuse me.
It's okay.
It's cold here.
And the thing is, as you just said there, it's that word practice. Everybody's looking, and like you say, people only see the end result. So they're seeing where you're at now, and they think quite often that people have just got there just in one straight line. If you can show me somebody that's had everything that easy from all the way up, no problem, then I'd love to meet them. But most people, because they're not seeing the peaks and the troughs and the things that have happened. And again, I suppose we're looking for a thing, this magical pill, this magical solution, this new strategy, the latest product that's going to magically change everything. But what they're missing is what you just said right there, is that it takes practice.
Yes. So it does take the right tools and understanding them. And there are many tools. But when you combine understanding how your brain actually works and how your brain sabotages you with tools to change what's going on in your brain, with awareness that life is short, we never know how much time we have, that brings you through the daily awareness, practically speaking, into living your intention, into being present. I think of mindfulness as practical mindfulness. I was telling someone the other day, look, many people think mindfulness is just about peeling an orange really slowly and then taking a bite and making the whole experience last an hour. And when I was first reading about mindfulness in my corporate life, when I was working 18-hour days, it's like, mindfulness? Heck no, I don't have time for that stuff. But while that is an aspect of mindfulness, the awareness, I think of mindfulness as being very practical. It's being present and noticing what's going on. That's mindfulness. It's very simple, really. And once you start thinking that way, then you can be much more intentional and focused about what it is you're doing all day long, because you can constantly hold yourself up against the mirror of what your intention is and how to be present in that. And then voila, you're practicing mindfulness.
But that isn't, again, you make it sound so easy. This is the weird thing. It actually is. It actually is. But we overcomplicate it. And that whole thing about being present, because everybody is on autopilot. They're on autopilot. And so to actually be present in the moment, yes, does take practice, because you just resort back to autopilot and bring yourself back into the present. So it does all take practice, but it's just, I find it such a fascinating subject because it is so much simpler than I thought it all was.
It really is, but it's still hard because you have to get there somehow. And that's why I look at how do we make this practical for my clients? How do I break it into nano steps so that we can start stacking change? Because you don't just become a guru overnight. I'm not a guru. I'm just someone who's bit by bit become aware of how to make these changes and what to do. I notice when my head is, but I notice it. And so here's one of the first things I teach my clients, and it's something everybody here can do. It's what I call the red flag test. The first place that stress and those negative voices show up in your head, those reactions, is in your body. It's your brain, but it's also your whole body. Some part of your body starts to collect and hold tension. So the red flag test is simply saying and noticing, oh, my neck's really tight, or I've got a stomach ache, or wow, I didn't have a headache a minute ago. And that's the red flag test. It's saying, hello, alert, alert. Something is going on physically that is tied to your emotions and how you're reacting. So what is going on? And it signals you to start paying attention. That's the first step of mindfulness, right? Just paying attention. So look at your body. See, heard your door creaking there. Where is the tension showing up? Once you notice that tension, then there are other steps you can start to take to slowly get more into your body and separate. This gets into another subject, but it's the emotional mind versus the rational mind. So the emotional mind, I'll just say, is in control. I used to always think, oh, I'm a really rational person. The rational mind is in control. But then I do all these things, meditate, yoga, Tai Chi. I tried everything. I tried drinking. That didn't work either. You have to be aware of what the emotional mind is doing and how it behaves, and the fact that it's in charge. It works so quickly. So you just blinked, Karen. In the time you blinked, the rational mind could process about 64 bits of information. But in the time you blinked, the emotional mind processed a quadrillion. So which part of your brain is in charge? It's the emotional mind. And the emotional mind works that fast because it's paying attention to everything, seeing you, hearing you, thinking of what is next rationally is the rational mind, but the emotional mind is already reacting to it. And in order to work that fast, it draws from the past, and it draws from the most highly charged feelings and emotions in the past, which are negative. So it's working like crazy trying to react to every situation. And if something goes on, it's going to say, oh, yeah, this is just like that time when blew me off, or when I was a kid and my dad scolded me, or I was never good enough. And it connects the dots that shouldn't even be connected. But it works so fast that the rational mind just says, oh, yeah, emotional mind's got this. No problem. I'll sit back because it's already on the job. When really it's on the job with the wrong set of information. And where this is something that even from an early age, kids could be taught, what's going on? Oh, you're feeling this. Let's acknowledge that. But now let's look at what's actually going on. But as time goes on, we start to believe that our interpretation that our emotional mind is giving us is the reality. And in many cases, it's not.
Absolutely. But that's what we've been conditioned to. Again, it's just through autopilot. Imagine a world if children were taught this, because as adults, as I say, this takes awareness, step one, of what's going on. And the majority of people are just simply even not aware. And then when you are aware, it's still going to take time to actually notice, like you say, when the more you can be aware of these red flags, and then the more you are equipped, more that you are empowered to actually consciously, intentionally look at it and change things. But it's empowering because it means that you can change it all.
Absolutely. I love understanding that the brain is plastic. We can change it. It doesn't matter what burdens you've been carrying or what interpretations of things you've been carrying your whole life, because at any age, you can change it. So I hit 60 before I started really understanding how to change my perception of myself within the world. But I did it because I built those nano steps and I understood what was going on for the first time in my life. Oh, this is what's going on. I'm feeling this. The emotional mind is taking charge. Now let me take the steps to bring the rational mind forward and balance those two so I can decide how to respond. And that puts me in the present moment instead of in all the past that I'm not even seeing is actually the past and not the present.
I love that. Love that. With our topic for today, so why paying attention to death? So it sounds like we're talking about a negative subject, but again, it is what it is. And why is it the most important thing for resetting your mindset to truly live?
So a preliminary question is for the audience is, how many things in your life have you been wanting to change about yourself for ages? And how many things have you been saying to yourself, I'm going to do one day? What might be something like, I'm going to hike the Appalachian Trail, or I'm going to visit Paris and go to the Eiffel Tower. So it could be things like that. Or it could be, I'm gonna lose weight this year. This is the year I'm going to have a diet and I'm going to get healthy. These are things that we want to do, right? But we don't necessarily do them because we think, I'll do it tomorrow, or I'll work on that later, or I don't have enough money, or I don't this, or I don't that. It's all the reasons why you can't. And that idea of doing this becomes someday I'll do this. Someday I'll travel the world. Someday I'll learn how to cook better. Someday I'll get a better job. Someday I'll lose weight. Someday is the same as saying no day. right? Think about it. Someday doesn't exist. It's out there. The only day we have is today, right now. So are you going to take action on those things today? Well, most people won't, because they feel like they have forever until they get to that. And once you hit your 70s or 80s, you start having a little reality check. But people in their 20s, their 30s, their 40s, they feel as if they could do things forever. So I remember one day when I was at my corporate job, one of the ways I'd keep myself sane when it was really stressful was I kept a list in the back of my notepad of all the places I wanted to visit. And it was a long list because I love to travel. And one day I was adding, oh yeah, I want to go to Patagonia. And I looked at this long list, and all of a sudden I thought, wow, if I'm going to go to all these places, I've got to go to 3 places a year every year for the rest of my life. This isn't even physically possible anymore. So what's my plan going to be? What's my priority? And I flipped my list so that the things that took the most physical ability went to the top of the list. The things that where you could push me around in a wheelchair and I could still see it, they went to the bottom. And then I started prioritizing even that list to say, okay, what's the plan? Because I don't have an infinite amount of time. As long as you think life is going to go on forever and ever, there's no urgency about changing. And there's also no clarity about what really matters to you.
Yeah, that's the thing. We put off till tomorrow. And yeah, I love the idea of, I think I've been through that a little bit. Like, I'm going to be turning 51 very soon, but I'd always wanted a bike. And I was getting to we went and got a motorbike. I said that I was going through a bit of a midlife crisis because it's like, time's going to be starting to run out. Really? Am I still going to be wanting to get a motorbike when I'm 60, when I'm 70? Yes, do it now. We've got to stop putting off, haven't we?
Yeah, we do. Here's a quick story about why I really came to realize this. I was aware of it, but I had a younger brother who got very ill very quickly, and he was rushed to the hospital, and the doctor said, oh my gosh, you have cancer everywhere. You're probably going to live for only 2 to 3 years. And that was day 1. On day 2, they said, you know what? It's probably more like 7 to 8 months that you have to live. On day 3, they said, it's probably 2 to 3 months. On day 4, they said, oh, we're sorry, but we think you only have 2 to 3 weeks to live. And on day 5, they said, Steve, you've got 2 to 3 days to live. This is over the course of 5 days. He had plans. He wasn't retired, he was able to do things, but within 5 days, his world changed completely. And I flew across country and sat bedside with him to just be present with him and to share how everybody loved him. And because people, when they're dying, even if they seem unconscious, they hear everything you're saying. And I witnessed his last breath. And I realized in that week, and especially in those few moments, that I don't know how much time I have. It doesn't matter, even if you've been given a prognosis, that you're going to die. You still don't know how much time you have. You only have today, and you have to live it, love it, and learn from it every single day, because it's a gift.
And why do you think it is a subject that we all avoid having? Why is it that we is it just our society? I'm sure other cultures don't, but certainly ours, we just want to put, and I'll admit, I'm the same. I want to just put my fingers in my ears and pretend that it's not going on, and we want to avoid it. Where does this all come from?
Culturally, a lot of it started, at least in the US, around the time of the Civil War, because so many people were dying away from home that bodies weren't being sent home. And I think probably war throughout the world, this kind of thing happened, where at one point families kept the dying in the home. And when there's war or cataclysmic events and dying is separated from the family, then it becomes more something that other people take care of. And so the whole funeral industry in the US grew up after the Civil War for those reasons. And I'm not sure what happened worldwide. We're all connected. So as things change, they change pretty much everywhere. As we got less and less familiar with death, and death became more and more something someone else took care of, and then the medical profession just exploded with the ideas that we can put off death. We can do things that will prolong your life, even if you've been given a terminal diagnosis. So between the funeral industry and the medical industry, death became something that's not part of our lives. People died in hospitals instead of at home. Funeral parlors took care of the bodies instead of our wrapping them up and taking care of them in our yard. So it became a distant topic. And the more distant it became as a topic, culturally, the less we wanted to talk about it ourselves. And then you get the whole youth culture, like, doesn't matter how old you are, you've got to look younger. You have Botox, or you dress younger, or you dye your hair, or whatever. Not pink, but if it's turning gray, you dye it. So many things. It's like not one thing. So many things push death away from us and somehow convinced us all that, hey, it might happen to you, but it's not going to happen to me. And if I don't talk about it, it definitely won't happen to me. When I was young, I was petrified of dying, Karen. At a very young age, 4, 5, 6, I was terrified of dying. Sometimes I don't always know if I believe in reincarnation or not, but when I think it could be possible, I think maybe I had a traumatic experience and I remembered it, but I was so frightened of it. So it penetrates into your life early on.
Right.
And then you have to really work to be able to talk about it. But if you don't talk about it, you're not going to deal with it, and you're not going to deal with your life as it is right now.
Yeah. And grief is the most, I know for me personally, I think going through grief was the most difficult time I've ever had in my life. And I suppose it's because we're not equipped to deal. Like you say, it's different when when my nan died or something like that, then it was almost expected. But because none of us are going to live forever, still sad. When it's a type of grief where it's not expected and they're young, and we don't know. I suppose we're not taught how to deal with grief. And like we've had a conversation before, it's crazy when you step back and look in. It's like, why? Because there's not one person on the planet. There's not one person on the planet that is getting out of this alive. It's crazy. We're all going to pass. So why is it that we have such a difficulty over something that is inevitable and is part of life? The life and death, it's all part of this strange thing that we're in.
Right.
And everyone is going to go through it. It's like when I lost my dad a couple of years ago. I really struggled with that too. And yet it's actually when you get to my age, 50s, we're actually weirdly lucky if we have to go through it, because that means we've had them for that long. Others weren't so lucky.
Yes.
So it's
true.
such a mixed barrage of feelings and very confusing, but it's inevitable. But why do we do so bad at it?
Yeah, let's take the judgment out of that, okay? Let's just take the word, why do we do so bad about it? Because pretty much everybody listening has not yet come to that point at which they're comfortable speaking about it. And I don't want everybody listening to think, oh, why am I so bad at this? Yet another thing I'm bad at.
True. Yeah.
The list is so long. It's just, it's something we're unaccustomed to. We haven't learned how to deal with it. We haven't faced it. Why haven't we faced it? There are probably as many answers as there are people watching this right now. It might be because you have not been allowed to show and feel your grief for the people or animals that have died in your life. People have a tendency to say, "No, he died a year ago, get over it." Or, "Why don't you get rid of your husband's clothes? He died 6 months ago or even 2 months ago." I don't want to. Everybody deals with grief in their own way. And it's that processing that is entirely essential for any situation where we encounter death. Same with thinking about ourselves and dying. It's really an essential process that we avoid because it's not pleasant. Wouldn't you rather clean the kitchen and scrub the toilets than sit and talk to me about your own death? Most people would say
yeah.
yes.
Yeah, I don't want to
Yeah.
die anytime soon.
Yeah. But here's the thing. I don't want to die anytime soon either. But I have really thought through how I want to die if I get control over it. There's so many things I understand now as an end of life doula that I thought were out of my control. I do not want to die in a hospital if I have the choice. If I'm dying at home, then I want music. I want to be wheeled out onto the porch if it's nice weather. I want people to come and tell stories about me. But other people might choose to have it be dark, and quiet, and just no sound whatsoever. We get choice about that kind of thing, but only if we've been able to face it and ask it and voice it what we want. So that process, if you have a guide to help you with it, is incredibly enlightening. And it's actually uplifting because you start to realize what's truly important to you. So we've talked about this before. I front load all my coaching programs with exercises around imagining your own death. There's many ways to do this, but the reason I do it is because if you come to me and say, "Marcy, I'm really unhappy. I don't feel good enough. I have all this negativity in my head. I want to change my life." And I say, "Why?" You don't have enough of an understanding even of yourself to know what really matters. So when we do these exercises where you boil it down to if this were your last day and you figure out what's really important to you and you understand that, then you can build your life around what's important to you. You can be intentional about it. Then death is less terrifying because you know you're living it the way you want. We don't want to talk about it because inside of us, we have this feeling like, I'm not doing all I can. I'm not living my purpose. I'm unhappy. All these things. It's just a whirlpool of like after a hard rain and the branches get knocked in and the wind has blown people's toys in and their sheets from their clothesline and everything's just a big mess churning around. You have to pick that apart in order to say, oh, wait a minute, this is what really matters. And if I'm living intentionally every day, death is less scary because I haven't been throwing it away. I haven't been wasting it feeling bad. I haven't been wasting it not doing the things that truly matter to me, not paying attention to my loved ones, for instance. So I probably told you this story, but I got called in the height of COVID to work with a man who had just been given a week to live. His niece called and said he's got so many regrets. He just feels like he can't die at peace, but he's got 1 week to live. What do we do? I got on a Zoom call with them and he was literally on his deathbed. He was so weak, he couldn't hold the computer in front of him. His niece had to bend over the bed holding the laptop in front of him. And I asked him to tell me his life story because I wanted to find out, what did he believe about himself? What had happened that he was so burdened with regrets? And when I listened to it, and an end-of-life doula, as well as a coach, needs to just listen deeply and hold space for that other person without any judgment. Just hear it, because so seldom do you ever get to be heard by anybody. I held space for him. And at the end, I said, would you mind if I reframed your story, if I told your life story the way I hear it. He said, okay. And I relayed to him what I saw, which was a completely different perspective. I saw that he had been a loyal and loving father. And where he felt like he'd completely failed his son, who was a drug addict that he could never reach or save. In fact, he'd done the best he could. And the best he could was a beautiful thing. He was loyal and loving. And so I reframed his entire life for him and his family who were there with him, witnessing. And he took a deep breath and he just said, thank you. I see myself differently now. I don't have those regrets. And he died just a few days later, completely at peace. And it made me realize that if we can have this vision, this clarity, this perspective about ourselves and our lives by looking at it right now and understanding what's truly important to us so that we can live intentionally around that without this burden of what our emotional minds have been telling us is true, but that's not true about us. This man for 40 years had been telling himself he was a failure when he wasn't. If you can feel that, if you can walk through that, then it's not like we look forward to death, but death isn't as terrifying because we know we're paying attention to what really matters. We're trying to live it as fully as possible. We're trying to respond instead of react. And we're prepared to do that with clarity and drive because we don't want to die with regrets. That's why this is the cornerstone of how I coach. So get real about what really matters. And the only way to do that is to strip everything away and say, what if this were your last day?
Wow. So you were able to help this guy be at peace in his final hours. And I would presume that had a massive knock-on effect to the family that were around him at the time.
The whole family came to peace because they'd also been listening to his view of himself. They might not have agreed, but they still had his interpretation of who he was and his life's work, which then trickles down because how we perceive ourselves comes out in our language and our actions and affects those around us. I think it has the possibility of really changing the world when people start doing two things. One is paying attention to the fact that today might be the only day they have. So what really matters about what they do, say, feel, think. That's different, right? Because nobody wants to hold on to anger on your last day or jealousy or beating yourself up. Nobody wants to die with regrets. And then if you also pay attention to your self-talk and hear what you're saying to yourself and discern what's true, what's not true, how do I think about myself with love and repattern those thoughts, whether they've been going on 20 years, 30 years, 60 years, it doesn't matter. You can learn a new habit of thinking so that then you're not all caught up in your own ancient and untrue drama. We're having a conversation. I'm not stuck on something that happened this morning, being in a bad mood and conveying that to you. You're not stuck on something that happened last week and thinking, oh, the way she looked at me, gosh, that reminds me of the way my mother used to look at me. You're not stuck on that because you're in the present. It can change the world, seriously.
And I do totally believe it. I think if everybody, and it's all obviously unconscious. Nobody does it intentionally. No one's doing it, acting. And I don't mean that. But because they're not aware, because we haven't been taught this, because it's only if people have actually, I don't know, somebody's taught them, like having this conversation. Somebody's heard a conversation and it's because it's not taught in schools. Yeah, absolutely. Imagine a world where everybody was living in the present moment and focusing on what they want rather than what they think they should.
Yeah.
Because like you said there, it sounds like he was judging himself for a
Absolutely.
perceived failure, and then it's having a knock-on effect to his life. We're just so hard on ourselves.
We are hard on ourselves. I see a lot of women, especially, who men are hard on themselves in their own way. A lot of women who go into the corporate world and they're climbing that corporate ladder, and maybe they're trying to take care of a family too. But on the job, there's a tendency to never feel good enough. And there's a tendency to say, oh, yeah, I'll do that. I'll take on that project because of always feeling like you need to prove yourself. And that's not just because of generations of sexual discrimination. It's also because of how we're raised to feel like we have to take care of everything and prove who we are and our worthiness by taking care of everything. So I was the superachiever, single mom, climbing the corporate ladder, and yet volunteering for everything. Oh, yeah, I can do it. Or I can do it better than someone else. So I'll do it because I want to control the outcome, and the outcome will reflect badly or well on me. And just more and more taking my meaning from everything I was trying to do, when really that was not who I was at all. My meaning is how I treated other people, how I treated myself, how I embraced life. The things we do are just things we do. We try to do them well because that's part of our gift of being alive. Do what you can, do it well. But don't try to prove to yourself you're worthy of love by doing more things. You'll never fill that gap.
And you'll burn out.
And you'll burn out, which I did. I definitely did. If people think about what hole am I trying to fill by my actions. So I was at an Al-Anon meeting one time where a guy who was obese was telling his life story. And he said when he grew up with two abusive alcoholics for parents, and he was telling the story about a day when they were chasing him around the kitchen table with a shotgun, and they were out of their minds. And he said to himself, and he told us this, I said to myself, one day I'll be big enough that they can never bully me again. And he literally got big enough. He weighed 300 something pounds because psychologically, he'd never addressed that promise to himself to try to protect himself by being big. That's a total disconnect, right? His emotional mind took charge, when at this point, if someone had just pointed out to him, hey, this is what you're telling yourself, that if you'll be big enough, you'll be protected. But that's no longer true. What is the truth of today? And let's deal with that, because your eating is all about trying to fill a gap that can't be filled that way.
But isn't this the case with everybody because of everything that we do up till, I don't know what the age is, 7 or 8, so anything that could have been said back then could have an effect now. And I really feel that this is what is missing, that we're not being taught this. Or I said to someone the other day, oh, maybe it should be taught in school, but then they were like, I suppose when you're coming out of it, you might be too young to actually appreciate that. So it's like, where does it come in? When are we taught this? That yes, our inner child stuff might need a little bit of work on, because it could be something a teacher said to us when we were
It could be anything.
6.
Or
Yeah,
a
it doesn't have to be.
husband when you're 40.
Yeah, it could be that's very traumatic,
be.
having your own parents chasing you around with a shotgun. But it could be something as simple as mocking what they were wearing on that day, or
Absolutely.
something really simple.
That
But it's
becomes a trigger.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It becomes a trigger. So here's the thing, that when you go through therapy, a therapist is trying to unpack things like that and help heal them. A coach, at least the way I see it, is somewhat different, because I do end up doing inner child work with some of my clients because they need it. But what we're doing is trying to just see that, acknowledge it, and decide what's still true. What do you still need of that? How does it feel to believe that? Do you want to choose something else? Let's repattern it. Because I'm not going to spend years talking with you about all your life stories. That is a therapist's job. My job is to help you live now in an emotionally healthy way. So we can't get stuck in those stories either. We have to be able to see and separate out facts from stories. So fact for me, my mother was manic depressive and schizophrenic. She ripped the phone off the wall one day when I was 15 because she said it was being bugged. And at the same time, burned my birth certificate in the sink because she said it was forged. Okay, that's a fact, right? That's what happens when you're mentally ill. Things happen and you perceive them differently. Now, I was affected by that. Obviously, I was 15, the oldest person at home taking care of my two little brothers. It affected me for a long time until I could start to say fact from story. The stories I've been telling myself for years are that I have to do everything by myself because I can't trust someone else to do them. I can't trust that the people I put my trust in, at that point, a husband or whatever, will take care of things because of that experience with my mom. But that's a story. Now that I'm older, I can say story, fact. All right, if I just look at the facts, I can learn to let go of the stories because the stories aren't helping me. They're not helping me in my marriage and my relationships. They're making me feel like I have to be perfect. And perfectionism is unattainable. So that's a vicious cycle. I need to let go of that. I need to repattern that story. So it doesn't matter when these things happen, whether it's in childhood or later on, you have to always have that red flag test, sit back, notice what's going on and ask yourself, is it true? Is it a fact or is it a story? And if it's a story, how do I want to rewrite that story? Because I can.
And it is everything. It's all the story. They're all stories, and the stories we make up in our own heads about about the past, sorry, and then also even more ridiculous about an imagined future. We are just bizarre creatures, really, with this capacity to, we create all this stuff and quite often it is not. Why can't we create it more for just stuff that serves us? Whereas it seems like the default setting is always the negative rather than the positive.
It is.
We need to switch it out.
And we have to learn how to do that because the default setting is negative because that's how the emotional mind can react so fast. Some people call it the reptilian mind. It's for danger. It's to help us react fast. But we need the rational mind to help us balance that out so we can respond instead of reacting. And we can learn how to do that. As we said, the brain is plastic, but it's very difficult for most people to see what it is they're telling themselves until they've had someone show them and start guiding them through that and teaching them, here's how you reframe that. Here's what you restate to yourself that's true, not just something you wish would be true, but really true, and build on that so that you then have this set of tools you can continue to use for the rest of your life because you're always growing and changing and new things come up. We're human. We're not designed to be perfect. We're designed to learn from what's going on and appreciate the struggles and then get to a new position.
And what if these things are in the unconscious part of the mind and they're not aware? Because quite often a lot of these things can come up with people and they're not conscious of the reasons or of the stories that they're telling themselves.
Yeah, that's when a coach is very useful who has been trained in this sort of thing. There are different kinds of coaches, but if you're trained in listening to what people say about themselves in the thread of their conversations, then you can help them learn to hear it themselves. That's why also I think the end-of-life doula training has helped me with the mindset, because you have to be fully present when someone only has a few days to live and you're giving them their chance to tell their story and share their legacy with you. And you're just being present, even up to the point when they're not talking anymore. You're just honoring what time they have, what breaths they have. But when I'm with a client, now I'm fully aware that this is their time. I need to listen. I need to get out of my own head and not be saying, oh, okay, I should say this. I used to do that when I was in the corporate world. I was terrible because I thought, oh, I'm so smart. I don't really have to listen to anybody. I'm not listening. I'm just figuring out what smart thing I'm going to say next, right? To prove my worth or to get more money for my department or whatever. I was in my head all the time. In fact, I used to get lost a lot because I'd be driving and I'd be so in my head. I'd look up and I'd think, wow, I've never seen this before, but I would be on the same road. It's just that I was completely not present. But when you're with someone dying, that's so disrespectful to be in your head. You have to be completely there because they deserve that. They deserve someone to be with them, to honor and just witness their life in whatever way. And that has spilled over into my coaching because that's how I listen to my clients.
Right.
Not figuring out ahead of time.
So the thing is, so what I'm hearing from you is you don't have to wait until you're on your deathbed to change.
No, please
so
don't.
The moral of the story is live now, live in the moment and work out what it is that you really want to do, you really want to be, do, have, whatever. And start making changes now or start, you can do it, have it now.
Yeah, that was my lesson from someone who had lived 40 years with regrets. Don't let anybody live with regrets now. And you will if you don't pay attention. Unless you're just lucky. Some people are very lucky and they're just naturally happy. But a lot of us aren't that way. We have to work at it a little bit. But it's possible.
Like you say, what you need to do isn't actually difficult. But the flip side, I can't think what book it's called. Anything easy to do is easy not to do.
That's true.
I mean, you know, and that's the thing. But the good thing is it doesn't necessarily have to be difficult. You can start now. So to any listeners, how do they find you? How do they feel like, yes, I've been putting off and I still want to do this? And how do they find you? How do they get in touch with you, Marcy?
Yes, very easy. Just go to selfmasterytransformation.com. There's a chance to get a free gift from me, 7 Steps to Silence Your Critic, which is just a simple guide to get you started today on noticing that voice and shifting it so it's positive and healthy. And there's also a form on the bottom of the page where if you'd like to have a one-on-one breakthrough call that's complimentary, we can sit down and have a chat and just let me hear you and hear the things you're telling yourself that you can't hear. That alone can be a breakthrough. So sign up for it.
Love that.
Thanks.
Awesome. And that is the thing, isn't it? It's people don't talk about it. I think they keep their goals to themselves, but actually if they were just to almost verbalize it with somebody, can help them even work it out in their own head. That could be step 1.
Exactly. I had a client recently say, you changed my life. And one of the things that was most important was when you did this exercise around what truly matters to me by looking at the end of my life, he said, I was so surprised by what really mattered to me. I thought it was completely different. But now that has enabled me to keep making the changes I want to make so that every day I'm working on that. Every day is meaningful to me because of that. Everybody listening can have that. You just have to wake up and
you have to reach out. You have to ask for help. Again, it's going back to and that there's nothing wrong in it's our conditioning. I do believe that stops many people from reaching out because in some way, shape or form, their perception of that means is that they failed, which is absolute rubbish. And actually, come on, show me anybody that has got wherever they're at today. Have they done it by themselves? I'll doubt it.
Yeah.
Everybody, we all need help in some way, guidance, in inspiration, motivation, ideas to bounce around. Everybody needs help. And there is no shame in actually
absolutely
reaching
not.
out and asking for help.
Yeah.
Thank you for this conversation. Yes, I knew we needed to have it because it is odd that we want to avoid. I'm like that. Like, it's not happening. It's not happening.
Yeah.
But that doesn't serve you. Yes, we have to bring it up. And yes, it is important to think about, because life is passing us by. Like I say, we went and got a motorbike last year. Because I thought, I was going to be too old to get one. I want a motorbike.
All right. Next time I talk to you, I better hear a plan for that.
Oh no, I've got it. It's in the garage.
got
We got it. Yeah, we did it. I still have to take my test. We're only on a little 125. So the goal is a big motorbike. So I've taken my written, and now I've got to go and take my test on a big bike. So yeah, it's all in play.
And when is that test?
Oh no, I've got to book it in. It's not booked.
And when are you going to book it in?
Oh, you put me down. Yes, I will.
Oh, you've got witnesses. When are you going to book it in?
I have. It is going to be. It is going to be this year.
Okay.
It is going to be when the weather's good. Okay. You're going to hold me to something now, aren't you?
I am, because this is how we live the way we want to live, is by being
I like that. By July, I will have taken my bike test.
Okay, so set a date for June, because by July means 30 different days, or just in June alone.
Okay, so I'm gonna have to let you know now that it's actually in.
Okay.
Right. Yes, I'm going to get on that bike. Awesome.
Okay,
Thank you for your time today, Marcy.
Thank you so much.
And
a delight.
It's been a great conversation. And to the rest of you, I will be back on Thursday with a Coffee with Karen. Bye for now.
Coffee with Karen podcast, a weekly chat show discussing everything from holistic health to current affairs from a mental, physical and spiritual perspective. Get your weekly cup of positivity with a sprinkling of